If brain cells had an expiration date, mine had long passed their warranty. I was halfway down the hospital corridor, scrubs half-ducked, hair doing some kind of interpretive dance, and my coffee already betraying me with a bitter aftertaste. "Morning, sunshine," Nurse Mira said, giving me the look reserved for co-workers you've had to cover for too many times. I saluted her with my clipboard. "Relax. If I forget your name again, I'll just call you nurse number 2. She snorted. "You hit your head once, Seal." "Not 10 times. Yeah, well, my brain decided to develop a sense of humor." She didn't say it, but I could see it in her eyes, the pity. The kind people try to hide when they remember you're the one who almost didn't make it. 8 months since the accident. A car crash, a hospital bed, 3 weeks of darkness. And waking up to a world where my mind had deleted entire chapters of my own life. Face is blurred, memories half dissolved. My therapist said, "You're lucky to be alive." Sure, if you call living with ghosts in your head lucky. The elevator dinged. Another day in the psychiatric ward. Land of rich alphas with trauma, betas with guilt complexes, and one overly tired omega pretending not to have migraines every 3 hours. Dr. Wan intercepted me before I could reach the break room. "Seal, you're on the new case," I groaned. "Please tell me it's not another billionaire who thinks therapy is foreplay." "No. This one's complicated." That was code for, the patient's important and he can't mess up. "Does he bite?" I asked. Dr. Wan didn't laugh. "He hasn't spoken in weeks, and his son hasn't eaten in 3 days. My sarcasm short-circuited. "Oh, so not another drama case. Real pain this time." I grabbed the file. Noah Aiden Gray. Age 5. Father, Aiden Gray. I blinked. The name stirred something fuzzy in the back of my skull. That's strange. Electric ache that always hit when my lost memories brushed close. Probably just caffeine withdrawal. Then the door opened, and the air changed. He walked in, tall, sharp suit, presence like a storm barely contained by skin, dark hair. Eyes too intense for polite company. For a second, he just stood there, staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. Then he whispered it, my name, barely audible, "Seal." Before I could respond, he crossed the room into long strides and pulled me into a hug. I froze. What the hell? He smelled like rain and restraint. My heart stuttered. My hands hovered between push and hold. Then his body trembled just once before he let go. I shoved him off, trying to disguise my fluster with annoyance. "Oh, personal space much? I don't hug clients, especially ones I don't remember." His jaw tightened. The suit didn't move, but something in him cracked. "You don't remember me," he said softly, like he was confirming his worst nightmare. I blinked. "Look, I forget where I put my lunch every day. Don't take it personally." His eyes darkened. For a moment, the air between us felt too sharp, too alive. "So, what are we doing today?" I said quickly, forcing humor back into the room. "Group therapy? Individual trauma? Or is this a father-son communication special?" He didn't answer, just gestured toward the little boy clinging to his leg. The boy was small, dark-haired, solemn, and heartbreakingly quiet. He didn't speak, just stared. I crouched down. "Hey, buddy. I'm Seal. You can call me Mama." The word dropped like a glass shattering. My chest went tight. Aiden froze completely, eyes wide. The boy's small hands trembled, then reached for me, not shyly, but desperately, like he'd been waiting. I caught him. Instinctively, he fit against me like a missing piece. My heart betrayed me. He looked up, eyes wet but smiling for the first time. "Mama." I blinked hard, throat closing. "Guess I'm just that good, huh?" I said weakly. But he wasn't joking. He clung tighter. And somewhere deep inside, something broke open. When I looked up, Aiden was still staring at us, eyes raw and glassy, like a man standing on the edge of a cliff. "Mr. Gray." I managed, voice trembling despite my best effort. He didn't answer. "Let's start with play therapy," I said quickly, because pretending was easier than feeling. "Promise I won't start charging extra for emotional breakdowns." By the end of the hour, Noah had drawn a son to stick figures and a dog. I was apparently the stick figure with long eyelashes. "Wow," I joked, "that's flattering. I usually get drawn as a potato with legs." Noah giggled, a sound so pure it physically hurt. Across the room, Aiden stood by the window, motionless, watching. When the session ended, Noah wouldn't let go of my hand. "Hey," I whispered, "you're pretty strong for someone who hasn't eaten in 3 days." He blinked, then whispered, "You came back." My body went cold. "What?" Before I could ask, Aiden stepped forward, his shadow falling over us. "Noah," he said quietly, "it's time to go." The boy looked between us. Torn. I forced a smile. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? He nodded, reluctantly. When Adian rose again, the air between us thickened, heavy and magnetic. Mr. Gray, I said carefully, your son is projecting. He's identifying me with someone he lost, someone you were. He interrupted, voice low, dangerous. My throat went dry. What? But his mask slipped back into place. His tone flattened. Thank you for your time, Dr. Seal. Wow, I muttered. You hugged me first, then downgrade me to doctor. Nice emotional whiplash. That almost got a reaction. His mouth twitched. Then he took Noah's hand and walked away. I sat down after they left, rubbing my temple as the migraine pulsed again. Sharp and electric, a reminder that something in my head wasn't healed. And in the echoing quiet of the room, the boy's voice replayed in my mind. Mama. The hospital emptied out slowly, the halls humming under tired fluorescent light. Sia found me still in the playroom, staring at the crayon son Noah had drawn. You okay? She asked. Define okay, she smiled. Softly. He's cute, that little one. Yeah, I murmured. Too cute. Makes me feel like I'm forgetting something important. Like what? I stared at the smiling crayon son. Like maybe, I whispered, I've met him before. When I finally stepped outside, the cold night wind bit into my skin. The city lights blurred. My chest ached with something I couldn't name. And somewhere between the noise and my heartbeat, I heard it again. Soft, faint, almost imagined. Mama. I froze. My hand went to my chest, to the space that shouldn't hurt anymore. I came here to fix someone else's family. I whispered. So, why does it feel like I'm the one who left it behind? If I'd known the man waiting by the hospital exit was a walking migraine in a tailored suit, I would have pretended to faint and rolled into the nearest taxi. Adian Gray stood there like a statue made of guilt and expensive cologne. The streetlight hit him just right. All tragic hero energy. The kind of man soap operas would pay to cry in slow motion. Drive.Seal, he started, voice low. Oh, I said. That tone usually comes before a life-altering request or a murder confession. Which one are we doing tonight? He didn't even flinch. Please, he said, stepping closer. Eyes darker than my coffee. Be Noah's personal psychiatrist. I blinked. I'm sorry, what now, my son? He hesitated. The words sung catching in his throat like glass. He hasn't responded to anyone but you. He ate for the first time today. He spoke. Because of you. Oh great. Emotional manipulation, the deluxe edition. Look, I said, rubbing my temple, I appreciate the flattery, but I'm not exactly for hire like a pizza delivery guy. I have patience, paperwork, and a very committed relationship with my couch. I'll double your salary, I snorted. What's next? A therapist mansion? A personal chef? Maybe a golden clipboard? He didn't laugh. His expression didn't even twitch. Instead, he whispered, please, Seal. You remind him of his mother. That one hit me like a sucker punch I didn't sign up for. I tried to look anywhere but his face, because something in his voice made my chest tighten, like déjà vu wearing heartbreak's cologne. That's not a healthy coping mechanism, I said weakly. He should distinguish between. Then Noah peeked out from behind his leg. Those big brown eyes blinked at me, like tiny weapons of emotional destruction. He held out his little hand, hesitant, trembling. Dr. Seal, he said softly. I crouched, pretending my knees didn't give out just from the tone. Yeah, kiddo. Can you come home? And just like that, sarcasm packed its bags and left me to die emotionally. Fine, I sighed, glaring up at Adian. But if I end up in a true crime documentary, I'm haunting you. His lips curved into something halfway between relief and gratitude. Thank you. I rolled my eyes. Don't thank me yet, Alpha. I charge extra for emotional damage. Scene 2. The mansion that smelled like repressed feelings if mansions could judge. This one definitely was. Adian's place looked like it had been designed by a sad interior designer going through a divorce. All glass, steel, and expensive emptiness. I whistled as we stepped inside. Wow. Smells like money and pine-scented. Heartbreak. Adian glanced at me. It's just home. Sure, I said. If home comes with a butler, a grand piano no one plays, and at least 3 chandeliers crying for attention. Before he could respond, a small missile named Noah ran straight into me. Mama, I caught him mid-leap, barely managing not to drop my bag or my sanity. Ho, ho. Little guy. Careful. The mansion walls look expensive, and I'm not paying for repairs if I crash into one. He giggled, the sound soft and precious, and somehow I felt familiar. Adian was standing there again, expression unreadable, but I could see it, the way his eyes softened when he looked at the kid. And me. I set Noah down carefully. Okay, little man, let's make a deal. You eat, you talk, and you stop calling me mama. I don't have the hips for parenthood. Noah only smiled. Okay, Dr. Mama. Adian actually smiled at that. Faint, fleeting, but real. I turned toward him. You should bottle that. The rare Adian gray smile. I could sell it to pharmaceutical companies. He almost chuckled, and I hated that my stomach flipped at the sound. My head throbbed suddenly, a sharp pulse behind my eyes. I pressed a hand to my temple. You okay? He asked, stepping closer. Yeah, I said quickly. Just my brain reminding me it's fragile. It likes to throw in some fireworks now and then. His gaze lingered like he wanted to say something, but didn't. Then he just nodded and led me to the dining room. Dinner was the kind of awkward that should be studied by scientists. Noah happily ate mashed potatoes while I poked at my food like it was radioactive. Adian sat across from me, quiet, like a man trying to remember how to exist. So, I said finally, breaking the silence. You always eat like this? Or is this part of the rich people ritual? Silence and guilt. His lips twitched. Noah's usually the talkative one. I said. So I'm supposed to carry the dinner conversation and cure your kid. You're getting a bargain. He actually laughed under his breath, a sound so soft I almost missed it. Then, of course, he had to ruin it with, really not remember me. I blinked. We doing this again? Pretty sure I'd remember someone this broody. You're kind of hard to forget. He looked down, the faintest smile tugging at his lips. You used to say that too. Did I? I arched a brow. Must have been before I learned better taste. That earned me another quiet chuckle, and I hated that I liked it. My fork scraped the plate. Look, Mr. Gray, if you're hoping for some grand memory recovery moment, you're out of luck. I hit my head hard enough to forget my Netflix password. You think I'd remember a 6-foot wall of tension like you? His eyes lifted to mine, steady, unreadable, but there was something behind them. Something I didn't have the nerve to name. Maybe, he said softly, you already are remembering. You just don't know it yet. And for some stupid reason, that made my pulse skip. I stabbed the piece of chicken like it owed me money. Yeah. Or maybe you just have a very punchable face. Familiarity and irritation are cousins, you know. Noah giggled from beside me, and I softened instantly. See, the kid gets it. Adian smiled again, slow, genuine, heartbreakingly warm. And my brain, traitorous as ever, decided to short-circuit. The room felt smaller suddenly, the air thick with unspoken things. I looked away first, because I always do. Well, I said, standing abruptly, thanks for dinner. I'll get Noah's therapy plan sorted tomorrow. Try not to brood too dramatically while I'm gone. The furniture might start crying. Adian rose. Too polite as ever. Seal, he said quietly. You really haven't changed. I stopped in the doorway. You say that like it's a compliment. It is. I turn halfway, smirking over my shoulder. Careful, Alpha. Flattery is how people end up with therapy bills. He smiled, that rare, real one again, and for a terrifying moment, it felt like gravity shifted. Then Noah yawned, breaking the tension. Mama, bedtime, right? I said quickly. Let's tuck in the tiny dictator. As I followed Noah upstairs, I caught a glimpse of Adian watching us, soft, wistful, like someone staring at a dream that used to be real. And for the briefest second, as Noah held my hand and I smiled back at him, my heart whispered something I didn't want to hear. Maybe it still is. When I finally got to my room that night, I dropped onto the bed with a groan. Great, I muttered to the ceiling. I agreed to live with a hot emotional cryptid and his adorable guilt weapon. What could possibly go wrong? But somewhere between my sarcasm and the soft echo of Noah's laugh, a faint ache bloomed behind my ribs, the kind that didn't feel like a headache this time. It felt like remembering. They say houses hold memories. Whoever they are, I'd like to punch them for being right. I'd only been here 3 days, and this mansion was starting to creep me out in ways horror movies could only dream of. For one thing, every time I walked into a room, it felt like the walls whispered, welcome back, and not in the how nice, you're home way, more like the we've seen you cry here before kind of way. It started small. I went to the kitchen this morning, half asleep and dangerously undercaffeinated, and opened a random drawer. Bam, my favorite tea. The exact brand. Same tin. Same chipped lid. Coincidence, maybe. Then the guest room, my supposed temporary quarters, smelled faintly of my old shampoo, which should have been impossible, considering I switched brands months ago after an ill-fated flirtation with lemon lavender balance therapy. Creepy coincidence number 2. By the time I found a sweater in the closet that fit me perfectly, I was ready to call an exorcist. Noah had wandered in while I was mid-existential crisis, clutching his plush bunny. Mama, why are you staring at the closet? Because it's judging me, I said. He giggled. Closets can't judge. Sweetheart, I said solemnly. If you've ever tried to pick an outfit before a date, you know they absolutely can. That got me a full belly laugh. And I swear it sounded familiar. Like I'd heard it echo through these halls before. I shook it off. Okay, Dr. Seal, I muttered to myself. New rule. No more overthinking. No more caffeine after 9 p.m. No more ghost of shampoo past. Then, because the universe enjoys irony, Adian appeared in the doorway just as I was talking to myself. He leaned against the frame, unreadable as always. You talk to yourself often, only when the audience is this good, I said, gesturing to the mirror. His lips twitched, which, in Adian language, meant he was this close to laughing. Breakfast is ready, he said instead. Perfect, I replied. Maybe bacon will distract me from the fact that your house is clearly gaslighting me. He didn't respond, but I swear I heard a quiet chuckle as he walked away. I should have known better than to explore. But Noah insisted. Come on, Mama Dr. Mama. He corrected, grinning when I rolled my eyes. All right, lead the way, tiny tyrant, I said, letting him drag me down the hallway that stretched like an expensive maze. He skipped ahead, humming something soft. I followed at a slower pace, taking in the details. Every corner, every painting, every faint scuff on the floor, it all felt lived in, like I'd been here before. We passed a long gallery of photos, none of me, obviously, though my narcissistic side was slightly offended. Still, I couldn't shake the odd tightness in my chest. Then we reached the end of the hall. A door stood there, larger, heavier, slightly ajar. The air shifted, colder somehow. The master bedroom. The moment my fingers brushed the door frame, my vision tilted. Suddenly, I wasn't standing there anymore. A flash, laughter echoing, warm and real. Hands, strong, sure, wrapping around my waist from behind. A voice, low and teasing. Stop pretending you don't love this room. Then a soft giggle. A baby's, high and bright, followed by my own laughter. The kind that comes from the chest, not the mouth. Then gone. Just like that, I stumbled forward, grabbing the wall for balance. My pulse went haywire. My breath stuttered. Noah's tiny voice pulled me back. Mama, you okay? Why, yeah, I said, forcing a laugh that sounded more like a cough. Just dizzy. Too much rich people air. It's heavier than normal oxygen. He frowned adorably. Want daddy? No, I'm fine. I waved my hand dramatically. Last thing I need is another serious alpha hovering over me like I'm going to collapse in slow motion. But even as I joked, my head throbbed. And under the migraine, something whispered in my mind. Something that hurt to hear. This was home. Of course, because the universe has a flair for drama, Adian appeared right then, silent as ever. Like the mansion itself had summoned him. He stood just behind me, his presence filling the hallway like gravity. Seal, he said softly. I didn't turn around. You know, sneaking up on people in your own house is peak rich alpha behavior. Do you rehearse this? No answer. Just the faintest shift in his breathing, too careful, too controlled. Then, do you remember something? The question sliced through the air. I laughed it off. My default survival mechanism, just dizziness, happens when I'm near emotionally constipated alphas that earned a quiet huff of breath, not quite laughter, not quite annoyance. He stepped closer. I could feel the warmth of him now, close enough that my brain decided to short-circuit. Seal, he said again, softer this time. And damn it, the way he said my name, like it meant something sacred, made my knees go weak. I turned, finally meeting his gaze. Big mistake. His eyes were a trap, deep, steady, full of things I didn't understand. Or maybe things I used to. For a second, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the faint tick of the clock, and my own heartbeat trying to set a speed record. He took another step closer. If you remembered anything, he said carefully, I'd want to know. I tried to smirk. What? Afraid I'll recall that you still owe me $20. His lips curved slightly. You never let me pay you back. That was too specific. My smile faltered. That sounds oddly personal for someone I supposedly just met. He looked away. Jaw tightening. Maybe that's why it hurts. Okay. Nope. Emotional territory ahead. Time to retreat. All right, that's enough tragic poetry for one hallway, I said briskly, turning toward Noah. Come on, kid. Let's find the kitchen. I'm craving sugar and denial. But as I started to walk away, Adian's hand brushed mine, not holding, just there, warm, hesitant. And it felt familiar. Too familiar. I froze. He didn't move closer, didn't speak again. Just looked at me, patient, careful, breaking silently. Noah tugged at my sleeve, oblivious to the storm brewing between us. Dr. Mama, come play. I blinked hard, forcing a smile. You got it, kiddo. Let's build the biggest pillow fort in this emotionally repressed castle. Noah cheered and ran ahead. As I followed, I risked one glance back. Adian was still standing by the master bedroom door, his expression a war between hope and heartbreak. And somewhere deep inside, where logic never wins, I heard it again, a whisper. Faint but certain, this isn't the first time you've walked away from him. That night, I couldn't sleep. The mansion was too quiet, too knowing. Every creak of the floorboard, every gust of wind outside the window sounded like the house was trying to tell me something. I sat up, pressing a hand to my forehead. Great, I muttered. Haunted by déjà vu. Perfect diagnosis, doctor. Somewhere down the hall, I heard a door close softly. Adian's, probably. And before I could stop myself, my traitorous heart whispered. He said my name like it was home. I exhaled shakily and flopped back onto the bed. Note to self, I muttered to the ceiling. Stop catching feelings for emotionally damaged alphas, especially ones with spooky mansions and ridiculously perfect jawlines. But even as I said it, I couldn't ignore the warmth spreading through my chest, or the echo that wouldn't leave my mind. Laughter. A baby's giggle. His arms. This house didn't just know me too well, it remembered what I forgot. I don't bake. Let's start there. I'm the kind of person who burns toast and forgets why I entered the kitchen. But that morning, I woke up possessed by the spirit of some domestic goddess and found myself elbow deep in flour, humming a tune I didn't recognize. Noah was perched on a stool, eyes wide as he watched me mix the batter. You're fast, he said softly. I grinned. I'm fast at many things. Baking isn't usually one of them, though. Are you sure I'm not making edible concrete? He giggled. Actually giggled. The sound made my heart do that weird flutter thing I've been blaming on caffeine. I poured the mixture into a pan and shoved it into the oven, pretending like I knew what I was doing. The smell that filled the kitchen was oddly familiar, like something from a dream I couldn't quite wake up from. When the timer dinged, I cut a piece and handed it to Noah. He took a bite, then his eyes watered. Mama used to make this, he whispered. The spoon almost slipped from my hand. Before I could say anything, a deep voice came from the doorway. He did. Aden was standing there, his expression unreadable except for the pain in his eyes. The kind that hit you harder when you realize it's not about the present, but about what was lost. I forced a smirk. Well, congratulations. I apparently have excellent taste, and possibly an identity crisis. He didn't laugh, just stared at me like I was something precious and breakable. I hated it. I hated how that look made my chest ache, like my ribs remembered something I didn't. So I wiped my hands on a towel and said, Don't just stand there, Alpha. Grab a plate. Cake doesn't eat itself. His lips twitched, like he wanted to smile, but didn't trust himself to. And maybe neither did I. Later, I decided Noah needed fresh air. Aden insisted we could stay home, that Noah tired easily, but I overruled him. Therapy rule number 1, I said, grabbing the kid's jacket. Humans need sunlight, even tiny ones. He muttered something about stubborn psychiatrist, but he didn't stop us. At the park, Noah ran across the grass, laughing again, an actual, full laugh that cracked something open in my chest. I sat on a bench, watching him. For a second, everything felt right. Then, because the universe clearly hates me, a baseball came flying out of nowhere, a blur aimed straight at Noah's head. Noah, I didn't think. I just moved. The ball hit my arm. I stumbled, and my ankle twisted like it had personal beef with me. Smooth, I hissed, clutching my foot, truly graceful, 10 out of 10 form. Noah ran to me, crying, You're hurt. I've had worse. Once, I fell off a chair trying to grab a cookie jar. I said through gritted teeth, trying not to alarm him. Aden was there seconds later, face pale, eyes blazing. What happened? I saved your son from a ball, I said. Feel free to nominate me for Amiga of the Year. He didn't find it funny. He crouched down and scooped me up like I weighed nothing. Put me down. I yelped. I can limp. Very dramatically. No, he said flatly. You could have been seriously hurt. Well, sorry for being the self-sacrificing type. I muttered, trying to ignore the way my face burned from being held so close. He looked down at me, jaw tight. You always do this. I frowned. Do what? Exist. You make me worry every time, he said quietly, voice breaking just a little. Every time. The words hit me like a brick. What do you mean every time? I asked. But he didn't answer. His hold tightened instead. And suddenly, I wasn't sure who was in more pain, me or him. Back at the mansion, Aiden placed me carefully on the couch like I was made of glass. I wanted to tell him I was fine, that I didn't need to be treated like I might crumble, but then he knelt down and started tending to my foot, and the words died in my throat. He was careful, too careful. Like every brush of his fingers might wake something he wasn't ready to face. You didn't have to carry me, I said, trying to sound casual. My pride's already limping. You were hurt, he murmured. I'm a psychiatrist, not porcelain. That made him look up. His eyes were dark, the kind of dark that pulled you in. You really don't remember anything, do you? I forced a laugh. Oh, I remember plenty. Like how your house looks like it swallowed an art museum, or how your fridge has enough protein shakes to feed a gym cult. He smiled faintly, shaking his head. Still the same mouth. Excuse me, nothing, he said quickly. His hands were shaking slightly as he wrapped the bandage. You just talk like you used to. Something twisted in my stomach. Well, maybe I'm just consistent in my sarcasm. When he was done, he stood up, but didn't move away. We were close, and I could smell his cologne. It was faint, but familiar, comforting in a way that made me uneasy. I looked away. Thanks, Dr. Alpha. Excellent bedside manner. I'll leave you a 5-star review. He exhaled a quiet laugh. You really haven't changed. Would you prefer I did? I asked before I could stop myself. He met my gaze, and for a moment, everything stilled. His eyes softened, and I swore my heartbeat stumbled. No, he said softly. I wouldn't. Something about that tone, that raw honesty, made my throat tighten. So I did what I always do when things got too heavy. I cracked a joke. Great. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to ice my ankle and maybe my feelings. He chuckled under his breath, shaking his head as he turned away. But before he left, he said quietly, Seal, you really scared me today. For once, I didn't know what to say, because the truth was, he scared me too. Not because he was alpha, but because every time he looked at me, it felt like he could see the pieces. I didn't even remember losing, and somehow I didn't want him to stop looking. I swear I was just trying to be responsible. That's how it started, me, a model psychiatrist. A picture of professionalism, carrying a first aid kit back to where I thought it belonged. Turns out my sense of direction is as tragic as my love life. I opened the door, stepped in, and immediately froze, because standing there, dripping water and wrapped in nothing but a white towel that deserved an award for courage, was Aiden. We both stared at each other like deer caught in the headlights of very bad timing. For a second, my brain short-circuited. Then, like a true professional, I said the only thing that came to mind, right? Wrong door. Definitely wrong door. Carry on with whatever steamy shampoo commercial you've got going, he blinked. Towel clinging to dangerous territory. Seal, nope, I said, backing up, flustered and pretending not to be. No words, just embarrassment. I'll go die quietly in the hallway, but of course, fate hates me. My ankle twinged from the park incident, and I stumbled. Aiden moved fast, and his arm came around me, solid, warm, and infuriatingly steady. Careful, he said, voice low. I was too aware of the water still dripping from his hair onto my shirt. You're wet, I blurted, then regretted it immediately. I mean, obviously. You showered. Fantastic observational skills, Seal. He chuckled softly. You never change. I looked up, cheeks on fire. That line would work better if I actually remembered who the hell you're talking about. For a moment, he just looked at me, like he was memorizing me all over again. It was intense. Too intense. So, I did what any emotionally constipated person would do. I shoved the first aid kit into his chest. Here. Medical stuff for your body or something. I'm leaving. Then I turned toward the door. Bad idea. Because that's when his fingers brushed my wrist. Gentle, but firm, and just like that, everything changed. Stop running from me, Seal. His voice wasn't commanding. It was pleading. Quiet, raw, and filled with something that made my chest tighten. I tried to make a joke. Running? Please. Limping dramatically, maybe. He didn't smile. His thumb traced the inside of my wrist. Slow, reverent, like it was something precious. You always do this, he murmured. When things scare you, you make it a joke. That hit a little too close. Well, congratulations, Alpha Freud. You cracked the code. He stepped closer. The air felt heavy, like the kind of silence before a storm. I could smell the faint scent of soap and pine, clean and sharp. Familiar. Too familiar. I should have pulled away. I should have said something sarcastic. But then he looked at me, really looked, and I forgot how to breathe. His eyes softened. You feel it too? He asked quietly. That pull? I feel like you're invading my personal space, I said weakly. He smiled faintly. That same small, broken smile he gave me the day we met again. You said that the first time, too. And before I could come up with another snarky remark, he kissed me. Slow, fierce, familiar. It wasn't tentative. It was like a dam breaking. Years of silence crashing into one impossible moment. My body reacted before my mind could protest. My hands grabbed his shoulders, pushing him once, then pulling him closer instead. His lips were warm, desperate, and for a terrifying second, it felt like my heart remembered something my head didn't. I tasted salt, maybe from his skin, maybe from my own confusion. I didn't know. All I knew was that this kiss didn't feel like first, it felt like homecoming. When he finally pulled back, breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. Seal, he whispered. You still feel like mine? I blinked rapidly, trying to find air and words. You should probably get dressed before your towel files for emotional distress. He laughed softly, but there was a crack in it, a quiet ache that made my chest hurt. You always ruin my dramatic moments. Someone has to, I muttered. He smiled again, faintly. And it's always you. I don't know how it happened. Maybe it was the tension. Maybe it was the loneliness. Maybe it was the way his voice softened every time he said my name, like it meant something sacred. All I know is, I didn't leave that room. He didn't ask me to stay. I just didn't move. We didn't talk much after that. There weren't many words left to say. There were too many years of silence, too much confusion, too much pull. When he touched me, it wasn't about claiming. It was remembering. His hands trembled like he was afraid I'd disappear again. And maybe I was. Because even as I kissed him back, even as my pulse raced and my heart whispered this feels right, my mind screamed at it. Shouldn't. That I didn't know this man. But my body did. Every touch, every sigh, every shiver felt like rediscovering something lost in a dream. When it was over, I lay against his chest, too dazed to move. The silence wasn't awkward. It was heavy, full of things we didn't dare say. I stared at the faint scars along his arm, the rise and fall of his breathing. You're quiet, I murmured. He chuckled lowly. I'm trying not to scare you away. Good plan, I said dryly. Also, maybe start by not being half naked when I open doors. He laughed, properly, this time. The sound was deep and real and did unspeakable things to my heartbeat. Then he brushed his fingers through my hair and whispered, I missed you, Seal. Something inside me twisted. You keep saying that like I'm supposed to know what it means. He hesitated. Maybe one day, you will. I wanted to ask more, but sleep caught me first. His warmth was steady beside me, too steady, too safe. And for the first time since the accident, my dreams weren't blank. They were full of laughter. Aiden's arms around me. A baby's giggle echoing through sunlight. I woke in the dark, heart pounding, tears on my cheeks. I didn't understand it, but it felt like a piece of my soul had just whispered, you're home. My sarcasm hides growing confusion, desire, and fragments of forgotten love, all tangled in the warmth of a night that feels too right to be wrong. Morning after emotional chaos? 10/10 do not recommend. My head was pounding, my ankle ached, and my dignity was somewhere between the sheets and the floor. I woke up alone, which, frankly, was both a relief and an insult. The spot beside me was empty, just the faint scent of soap, pine, and I definitely made questionable choices last night. I groaned, sitting up. Well, congratulations, Seal. You've officially added sleeping with your possibly emotionally traumatized boss to your resume. My throat was dry, my brain fogged. I needed clothes, caffeine, and maybe an exorcism. I hobbled to the closet, because yes, apparently my post-one-night stand dignity was buried under one of his shirts, and swung the door open. And that's when I froze. Right there, on the top shelf, half hidden under a folded blanket, was a photo frame. Curiosity killed the cat, but apparently, it also tortured amnesiac psychiatrists. I reached for it, muttering, if this is another mirror selfie phase, I'm suing him for emotional damage. But it wasn't that. It was a picture of me, smiling, actually smiling. Eyes bright like I hadn't yet developed my award-winning sarcasm. Aiden beside me, arm around my waist, his other hand holding a tiny baby with big, curious eyes. Noah. All three of us, together. Like a damn family. My breath hitched. What the hell? It didn't make sense. It shouldn't make sense. I don't remember taking this photo. I don't remember being that happy. But the picture didn't lie. My hand was resting on Aiden's chest, his thumb tracing circles on my wrist. Noah was between us, laughing, his first teeth peeking out. My throat tightened. You've got to be kidding me. I sat on the floor, still holding the frame, my fingers shaking. My brain, the same brain that forgot half my life, started to spark with something. A dull ache behind my eyes, like static. Then, flashes. Pain exploded behind my eyes, sharp and merciless. I clutched the frame to my chest, gasping. The world tilted, blurred, the photo slipping from my grip, hitting the floor with a small crack. And then it started. A car. Rain. Headlights. Aiden shouting my name. My own voice. Terrified. Pleading. The crash. Then, silence. Flashes again. Not of the hospital, but of before. A kitchen bathed in morning light. Aiden behind me. Arms around my waist. Whispering something about pancakes, a baby giggling on the floor. Clutching my sleeve. Say Papa, I had teased. Say Mama, Aiden had countered, grinning. Noah's first wobbly step, right into my arms. My laugh echoing in that same house. This house. The smell of vanilla, warm and sweet. The same damn cake I baked days ago. Every moment slammed into me like a flood I couldn't escape. And through the blur, one word slipped from my lips, quiet, raw, instinctive. 80. It came out before I even realized. His name, his nickname, the one I didn't remember knowing. My chest constricted. My hands trembled. Then nothing. Darkness folded over me, thick and cold. The last thing I felt was the warmth of tears slipping down my face. When I woke up, everything smelled faintly of pine and warmth again. My head was heavy, but the pressure had eased. I blinked slowly, the ceiling coming into focus. Then a shadow, tall, familiar, trembling slightly. Aiden. He was sitting beside the bed, holding me like he'd been afraid I'd vanish again. His hand was in my hair, his thumb brushing my cheek. His eyes, gods, those eyes were wet. You scared me, he whispered. His voice cracked halfway through. You remember. You finally remember. I blinked, confused. My voice came out rough. I saw things. The car. The baby Gus. He let out a shaky breath. It's okay. But I wasn't done. My throat felt tight, my heart in chaos. 80. He froze. For a second, he just stared, then slowly he smiled. It wasn't a smug smile. It wasn't even a relieved one. It was heartbreak, hope, and love all tangled up into one impossible expression. That's what you used to call me, he said quietly. Every morning, every night, I swallowed hard. I didn't mean to, but just slipped. He shook his head, brushing a strand of hair from my forehead. No, you remembered it, even if you don't know how. The weight of that sentence pressed on me. I don't remember everything, I admitted softly, not clearly. It's like fog, but the feelings are there. The warmth, the laughter, the hymn. His hand tightened slightly on mine. That's enough. I blinked up at him, confused. You're not mad I don't fully remember? He smiled faintly, but it didn't reach his eyes. Seal, I lost you once. I won't lose you again just because time is being cruel. Something in my chest cracked open. Damn, I whispered, trying to keep my voice steady. You're making it really hard to keep my emotional distance. You know that. He actually laughed, softly, through tears. You never were good at emotional distance. You used to lecture me about communication while throwing spoons at me. That earned him a weak grin. Well, maybe I should have thrown something heavier. His smile widened, this time genuinely. You still could. I looked down at our joined hands. My fingers fit against his like they had never forgotten how. Noah's voice echoed from the hallway, small, sleepy. Papa, Aiden looked up, exhaling shakily. We're here, buddy. I tried to sit up, but he stopped me gently. You need rest. I rolled my eyes. Oh, sure. Because fanning and emotional whiplash are best treated with bed rest and overprotective alphas. He gave me a look, that same one that said I'm worried but pretending I'm fine. And before I could sass him again, he leaned down, forehead brushing mine. His voice was soft, steady. Welcome back, Seal. My heart clenched. 80. I whispered again. I don't remember everything. Yet he smiled, thumb brushing the back of my hand. Then I'll remind you, one piece at a time. I looked up at him, blinking against the sting in my eyes. You know, you're still annoyingly perfect at this whole emotional timing thing. He chuckled. And you're still terrible at accepting care. Yeah, I said quietly, smiling. But I'm working on it. The silence between us wasn't awkward this time. It was warm, heavy with the weight of lost years and fragile beginnings. Noah peeked into the room, holding a stuffed bunny almost as big as him. Mama, The words still made my throat tighten. I smiled weakly. Hey, champ, come here. He ran over, climbed onto the bed, and nestled against me. Aiden's arm wrapped around both of us, gentle but secure. And for the first time in a long, long while, my chest didn't ache. It settled. I looked up at Aiden, murmuring with a wry smile, for a guy who started this story by ambushing me with a hug, you're doing surprisingly well. He smiled, leaning in just enough to brush his lips against my temple. You always said I was stubborn. Yeah, well, I muttered, curling closer to both of them. Guess I'm stuck with you now. His quiet laughter rumbled against me. Promise, don't push your luck, towel boy. He laughed again, and this time it sounded like home. My heart softens into tenderness as memories flicker back. Not all, but enough. Enough to make him stay. Enough to remember what love used to feel like. Morning sunlight spilled across the living room, golden and warm for my mood. Aiden and Noah were on the carpet, building some kind of tower out of blocks. Correction, Noah was building it, and Aiden was pretending he wasn't dying inside every time a block fell. I sat on the couch with a mug of tea that had gone cold. My brain was still reeling from the whole family photo in the closet, and dramatic fainting scene yesterday. I mean, seriously, who faints that elegantly, apparently? Me. I watched them quietly. Noah giggled as Aiden made a dramatic growl, pretending to be a dragon. My chest tightened. Something about the way Noah leaned into him. The way Aiden smiled back, soft, unguarded. It hit too close, too familiar. And then Aiden looked up at me. That same soft smile. That same warmth that felt like a memory I couldn't quite hold. My chest ached so bad I wanted to throw the tea just to distract myself. He stood, scooping Noah into his arms. You should join us, he said gently. You look like you're overthinking again. Overthinking? I snorted, forcing a grin. No. I'm just planning my next fainting session, thinking of adding dramatic background music this time. He chuckled, that low sound that made my stomach flip. You never change. My hand froze midair, mug halfway to my lips. Never change. Yeah, sure. Tell that to my missing memory and existential crisis. Later that evening, I wandered the house like some ghost haunting a mansion I wasn't sure belonged to me. The scent of dinner, garlic, and butter lingered in the hall. Noah was already asleep, and Aiden had gone upstairs to finish some work. I ended up in the piano room again. It felt safe, familiar in that you've cried here before kind of way. My fingers brushed the keys, and before I knew it, a melody poured out, soft, trembling, and heartbreakingly mine. The notes wrapped around me like a whisper, and my heart started racing. My vision blurred, but not from tears this time. From memories. Aiden's hands over mine on these same keys. Noah's tiny laugh echoing from the carpet. Our wedding night, me laughing. Him kissing the back of my hand and promising, no matter what happens, I'll find you again. The headlights, the crash, the sharp pain, the nothing. I gasped, clutching the piano like it could keep me upright. It all came rushing back, every kiss. Every fight, every sleepless night beside Noah's crib. The love, the fear, the accident, the loss. And then, the unbearable realization, I'd forgotten him. I stood so fast the stool fell. My heart pounded, my vision swimming. I needed to see him, now. I stumbled to his room, half running, half sobbing. I didn't even knock. The door flew open, and there he was, sitting at the edge of the bed, eyes widening at the sight of me. Seal? I crashed into him, arms around his neck, shaking. I remember. I choked out. 80. I remember everything. For a second, he didn't move. Then his arms came around me, strong, trembling, like he'd been holding his breath for years. He buried his face in my shoulder, voice breaking. You called me that again, 80? I tried to laugh, even as tears streaked down my face. Yeah, apparently I'm sentimental and unoriginal. He let out a breath that sounded half like a laugh, half like a sob. I missed you so much. I leaned back, meeting his eyes, those stupidly intense eyes that once made me say I do without hesitation. You miss me. I've been living in your house, and you didn't even warn me we were married. That's false advertising, matey. He smiled faintly, thumb brushing my cheek. Would you have believed me if I told you? I snorted. No. I'd have prescribed you antipsychotics. He laughed, that deep, broken sound that made everything inside me loosen. And then he kissed me. Not desperate this time. Not because of confusion or pain, but because we found each other again. It was soft, trembling, and right. I could feel the missing years melt between us, the accident, the distance, the ache, dissolving into something whole again. When we finally pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine, You came back, he whispered. I smiled through my tears. You make it sound like I had a choice. You're annoyingly persistent, remember. Only with you, he murmured, before I could come up with another sarcastic comment. A small voice piped up from the doorway, Mama. We both turned. Noah stood there, rubbing his eyes, his little bunny plush in hand. Why are you crying, Mama? My heart cracked open. I crouched down, pulling him into my arms. Because I'm happy, sweetheart, so happy. He hugged me back, tiny arms tight around my neck. You remember me. Every bit of you. My love. I whispered. Even the time you threw peas at my face. Noah giggled, and Aiden laughed softly behind me. I looked up at him, my alpha, my impossible man, and for the first time since the accident, I didn't feel like I was missing something. I felt home. That night, after Noah fell asleep between us, I lay awake listening to Aiden's breathing. Everything hurt, but in a good way, like muscles remembering how to move after too long. The memories weren't just back, they were alive again. Every fight, every kiss, every promise. And I realized something. Maybe fate didn't want us to start over. Maybe it wanted us to find each other again, to fall in love twice, just to prove it was real. I turned my head, whispering into the quiet. I found you, 80. Half asleep, he murmured. You never really lost me. I smiled, brushing Noah's hair, whispering, guess not. Love doesn't always survive in memories. Sometimes it hides in the spaces between, in laughter you can't explain, in a touch that feels familiar, in a name you say without knowing why. And when you find it again, it feels like breathing after, forgetting how.